First, there was meth contamination in the Boulder Library, then a Boulder RTD station, and now Englewood saw what happened and did their own tests in the library and Civic Center bathrooms. They came back positive for levels of meth that exceed the state threshold.
And 9 News reporter Katie Eastman met with Englewood officials, now hoping to remediate this quickly and make sure that it doesn't happen again.
I'm sad. I grew up in the library system. My mother was a librarian, and I love the library. It's a special place for all ages.
The library still is a special place for Englewood Library Director Christina Underhill.
Yeah.
But in order to make it safe, they closed their Civic Center branch on Wednesday when testing showed elevated levels of meth contamination.
We have seen an increase in drug use, not only in the library area, especially the restrooms, but around the Civic Center campus.
That increase, Underhill says, has been seen in the last few months. After Boulder tested and found meth in their main library in December, Englewood decided to be proactive and test too.
We got preliminary results yesterday, which is when we sprung into action.
The Director of Public Works, Victor Rochelle, says the levels exceeded the state threshold in the library and were even higher in the Civic Center bathrooms.
We did swabs in areas that were potentially known to have some drug activity based on feedback from staff as well as our security.
The city is working to contract with a remediation company. But once the cleanup is over, they know the problem isn't solved.
We're going to have to take a multi-pronged approach moving forward. That's going to be more eyes, increased security, as well as education, and along with other things.
I'm just sad that this is happening, and I never expected the libraries to go in this direction. And I know it's not just Boulder and Englewood. This is going to be a national issue that's going to have to be addressed, and so I'm excited in some respects that we're leading the way and going to find solutions and make libraries overall a great place.
No one complained about getting sick in Englewood, but there were several reports in Boulder of people getting headaches after they breathed in smoke in library bathrooms. We have reached out to several other library districts. Denver said they don't have plans to test for meth. Aurora told us, although they don't have any reports of people doing meth in their locations, they are looking into options for drug residue testing just as a precaution.
I was going to say, this is not just libraries, obviously, and it's not just Boulder, and it's just not just Englewood, and it seems like other places are paying attention and probably will be testing.
Yeah, and that's exactly how Englewood decided to test in the first place, because they saw what happened in Boulder and they were like, maybe we should do this.
Being proactive, and hopefully then they can all share their ideas about what to do.
About what to do in the future. Yep.
Thank you, Katie.
Well, there are many ways to get drugs now. That includes allegedly on the social messaging app Snapchat. As a result, 8 families from across the country, including one here in Colorado, are now part of a lawsuit against the app's parent company, Snap. In their lawsuit, they say, quote, Snap's products have encouraged, enabled, and facilitated the illegal and deadly drug sales of counterfeit pills containing lethal doses of fentanyl to minors and young adults. That suit says 18-year-old Max Osterman of Thornton died in 2021 of fentanyl poisoning after taking a pill sold to him by a dealer on Snapchat. That lawsuit claims Snapchat was also suggesting other dealers via a user recommendation algorithm, as well as mapping and location features. Well, Snap has sent us a response to the lawsuit. They say their hearts go out to the families. Company officials also say in part, quote, while we can't comment specifically on active litigation, we can share all the progress we have made in this area. We use cutting-edge technology to proactively find and shut down drug dealers' accounts, and we block search results for drug-related terms. That full statement is available on our website at 9news.com.
Another black eye for Aurora police. An off-duty officer has been arrested and charged with assaulting a woman with a physical disability. 9 News crime and justice reporter Matt Jablow is joining us. And Matt, you learned this officer was already on leave.
That's right, Kim, and that suspension was tied to his shooting less than 2 weeks ago. His arrest, meanwhile, happened around 9:30 last night. That's when deputies with the Arapahoe County Sheriff's Department responded to an apartment complex on East Briarwood Circle near Parker and Arapahoe Road. The arrest affidavit says Douglas Haroon was off duty and driving home. The document says he got into an argument with a woman who was walking her dog off the leash in the middle of the road. The affidavit says the argument escalated and that Haroon punched the woman in the face. When she fell to the ground, witnesses say Haroon got on top of her and punched her in the head 4 or 5 more times. Haroon was booked into the Arapahoe County Jail. He's being held for assault against an at-risk adult. The victim is a 49-year-old woman who suffers from a nerve dysfunction. She went to the hospital, but we have not yet heard how she's doing. In a written statement, Aurora's interim police chief said Haroon's actions are, quote, inconsistent with the Aurora Police Department's core values. On New Year's Eve, Aurora police say Haroon fired his gun while responding to a domestic violence call. One person was hit but survived. Haroon was placed on paid administrative leave following that incident. Now, following his arrest, the department has suspended him without pay. Kim?
And a lot of questions for Aurora Police once again.
Indeed.
All right, thank you, Matt. The FBI in the Denver area want to find this man. He's accused of robbing 4 banks this week. The first was on Monday in Arvada. The others were all on Tuesday, 1 in Denver and 2 in Littleton. Authorities say the suspect would approach the teller, verbally demand money, and threaten the teller before getting money and leaving. He's believed to be in his 20s and between 5'6" and 5'10". Call police if you have any information.
The inflation rate dropped for a 6th straight month, a 6.5% measurement in December, quite a drop from the 7.1% seen in November. However, many analysts believe the Federal Reserve will still continue to increase interest rates. There were also lower gas prices around Denver last month, but this month, the average prices have crept back up over $3 in most cities here. The Suncor refinery shutdown is believed to be playing a part in that recent price jump, but local economists do not think it's the only reason. Still, the Suncor shutdown has had several ripple effects in our community. And 9 News reporter Luis De Leon explains.
The state's only refinery seems to have an impact in some way on most Coloradans. What that impact is depends on who you talk to.
The biggest concern of the residents here in Commerce City has been the air quality.
Olga Gonzalez is executive director of the Adams County-based nonprofit Cultivando, standing next to the tall air monitor that they installed with the help of the group Boulder Air. It's tracking air pollutants in the area around Suncor.
We have had community members who've lived here for decades, and so we are concerned about the cumulative effect of living under these conditions every single day of their lives.
But with the refinery shut down, she says they'll keep a close eye on what their collected data tells them in the coming weeks. A spokesperson for Suncor says they expect to return to normal operations by the end of the first quarter of this year, so around March. In the meantime, long-term impacts on the state, like gas prices, could vary.
I don't see the average price being affected much by this shutdown. And
Michael Orlando is a petroleum engineer turned economist turned adjunct professor at CU Denver.
But I do think consumers should expect more volatility in prices.
But he believes those changes would be small because while Suncor produces 35 to 40% of gas and diesel sold in Colorado, he says a majority of our fuel comes from other states.
So even based on a simplistic analysis, the most additional cost we can imagine Colorado motorists having to cover would be about 15 to 20 cents per gallon on a statewide basis, based on our statewide consumption.
As for Cultivando, they're taking the Suncor pause as an opportunity.
This means so much to me because there are many families and children who live in this community.
Now, we should note that you, viewers, helped out Cultivando through a Word of Thanks micro-giving campaign back in 2021. So I caught up with the scientist manning that group's air quality monitor near Suncor. He says right now it's still too early to compare their readings from the last few weeks when Suncor's been shut down to the same time period last year, but they hope to get more concrete data comparisons as the shutdown continues, Tom.
Yeah, we're certainly talking about a ripple effect and the effect on those people nearby.
Right, absolutely. Yeah.
Thanks, Luis.
EpiPens cost hundreds of dollars, but they're a necessity for those with certain severe allergies. A bill in the Colorado House introduced this week could lower the cost. Sponsors of the bill say the price has increased tenfold in the last 15 years, even though it only costs manufacturers $5 to make a pair. This new bill would allow uninsured people to buy a pack of 2 EpiPens for just $20 to $30. It would also work with insurance companies to cap how much those insured people pay out of pocket.
When the kids in their school have severe allergic reactions, sometimes they're hesitant to use the EpiPen because then they have to charge the family. It can cost $500–600, and oftentimes these families are having to decide, already they're having to make tough decisions.
Democratic Representative Javier Mabry says this is part of the widespread effort to lower health care costs for all Coloradans.
More birds found dead in Fort Collins. Wildlife officials talk about what killed the geese and what is killing birds around the state in other places.
The avalanche risk is high heading into the Martin Luther King holiday weekend. The state is warning everyone to stay safe.